This podcast is a chat between two friends who have been regular visitors to the Wee Museum of Memory and was recorded 2 years ago. Bill Garden, 86, was brought up in the Northfield area of Edinburgh, and Neta Percy, 80, in the Marchmont area. We hear about shopping in Northfield and Meadowbank, the Italian ice cream shop there, stories about knitting, the hated Fairisle hat that just wouldn't go away, wearing Wellington boots as a fashion statement, and what you wore under a lab coat in summer. It's all a bit of a delightful double act. Enjoy.
My dad was at Dunkirk with one of the lads who worked in the store, the branch, down at Northfield. And when a lot of troops got by from Dunkirk, many of them were found to be really not fit for what they were supposed to do. So he got his job back. I can't remember his name now, in the store. And he was a counter hand. And we were rationed. Our ration books were based at the Co-op at Northfield. My other brother was too busy studying, but I was sent to get the rations. My father was away arguing with the Germans. But every time my father got leave, which they had it pretty well organised in the Second World War, he would always go down to the store to meet this lad and tell him how all the other survivors were surviving. And I was always told, try and get served by this lad, which I always did. And he always used to slip us, obviously, a bit of something extra, you know. And he always asked how my dad was getting on. And I could say, well, he's not been killed yet. It's about the strength of it.
Do you remember your store number?
41421.
So which store would you use? Where was your...
The one up at top of Marchmont.
And would you go along and get the messages?
Mm-hmm.
But you wouldn't get the rations. You'd be too young, Dad.
That's true.
I'd go with that. I'd definitely go with that.
Yeah.
No, I speak the truth. You know, I was always saying...
There was a Dumfriesshire dairy.
And where was that?
That was
Dumfries.
the corner up at Thirlson Road.
Oh, right.
It was a big corner shop.
Right.
They were quite popular.
So would you get your milk delivered?
Yes. We would need to do...
Yeah.
We used so much milk because Dad loved his cups of tea.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mum used to get 5 pounds of milk a day.
God's sake, I couldn't
5
drink
pints?
that.
Uh-huh.
A day?
I
I used to
do.
get 3-4 pints a day. But not milk.
Very good for you, you know.
That's another subject. And what about sweets? When you were kids, what were you...
There was the old
They saw
chap
them in the shop.
in Warner Park Road. He's an old chap, and he had a wee sweetie shop, Warner Park Road.
Right.
And he was really, really good. And he used to have a wee box, and he used to give you something out of it if you were, you know, just to get you on the way.
Not in the way.
No.
My brother, I think, he got penny bars,
Right.
Yes.
penny bars
Remember
of
them?
chocolate.
One
I
between
did get a
4.
penny bar.
No, that's
My
right.
dad loved, what was it, Russian caramels.
All right.
They were toffees with a chocolate coating on it.
You got one of these for your Christmas.
Yes, because you were down in Northfield.
Yes,
Yeah.
Northfield, Abercorn Crescent.
Ah,
I was born in one of the corporation houses. It's the one with the plaque on the wall. You know,
I've
you
seen
can't
that
miss
one,
it.
obviously. I go and touch it, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's who's wearing
I
my
revere it.
Exactly. And then my parents bought a house, a Miller house, and we moved up. My other brother was 7 years older than me, and my younger brother was 7 years younger than me. It was a 7-year itch, obviously.
So we're getting back to shops.
Why?
And I'm thinking about when you were a young man. Did you go along and buy, was there a particular shop you went to buy your clothes?
The store.
Still the store?
Everything was in the store. And I used to have to go at the divvy time to get the divvy in Bread Street. I was saying, I don't think they could trust my elder brother, but He's a minister, you know, so I wouldn't trust him either. I used to get his old clothes to wear.
Mum used to take Dad's old shirts, and if the collars were gone, she could turn it.
Turn them, yeah.
She could turn them. And the trousers, she could do that as well. She could put a new seat in the trousers.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
Seat in the
yeah.
trousers.
She put a new seat in the trousers. And
Bit slidey though.
That was all right. It dried well.
but of course Dad was an engineer,
Yeah.
and he had his overalls.
Yeah, they help.
Yes.
But Mum was superb at doing men. You know, she could do things. I remember she made me a wee flared skirt.
Right.
And
Well,
then,
of course, we've got your pink dress up the back there.
yeah,
So where did you buy that from?
I can't remember. It was sort of multi-purpose in a way, because I wore it for a ball. I wore it as a bridesmaid for my friend. Felt quite nice in it too.
Of course, you look lovely in it now.
You did. You look very nice. You got the photos.
Have you got the photo? Because I was going to get another copy. And you could display it with the dress.
Well, we did actually.
They did
We had it in
that.
the window, so we
They
got.
did that, yeah.
I need to put it up again. But
I think so.
Well, Dad was the one who used to make the patterns.
oh right. I suppose the engineering would help making the patterns.
So he would make the pattern for Mum, and then she would cut it out and sew it.
For goodness sake,
Great.
they were a good team.
My brother didn't really have much in the way of clothes that I can remember.
No.
School uniform, yes.
Yes,
but
yes, that
can't
was
remember
there
much
again.
more than that.
Yeah.
Well, I had an elder brother, so I was known as the cast-off kid.
So you didn't get many new things?
No. I think the first time I got a new suit was the National Service. But we were a knitting family, because my grandmother, whose name was Ursula Andrews' daughter, she knitted shawls. I should maybe bring a shawl in.
Oh yes, I would have done it.
And Fairisle,
Oh yeah.
and I had a Fairisle tammy, which I loathed.
Jane.
He tried to lose it.
Oh, did
Well, she went motorbike sidecar, and my elder brother got in the pillion seat, and I was in the sidecar, which my father had made with my mother. And I had to wear this abysmal hat. So once we picked up speed, I took it off and threw it away.
I remember Mum made tammy,
Oh yeah.
knitted tammy, and it was mostly pink, I think. And then I had a coat that Mum had made for me as well.
Good.
It was really
You must have looked a bonny
a bonny wee soul.
Yeah.
Well, I was known as the cast-off kid.
So did you manage to get rid of this Fairisle?
No,
No.
my father
Somebody found
stopped
it
and
and
went
handed
and
it
got it.
For goodness sake.
Exactly.
Of all the bad luck.
Couldn't get near the fireplace, but chucked it in the fire.
Oh dear.
You really did dislike it, didn't
I
you?
did. But my grandmother's knitting with Fairisle, my mother and my grandmother knitted Fairisle things and used to sell them. There was a shop at Haymarket, a Shetland shop. They used to buy wool there and knit or whatever, and they would take it to the shop, and they would get some money for it. Not very much.
No.
You know what we used to do?
What's that?
It's a lie.
We used to go.
You're like a double act, you are.
We used to go down to St Andrew's Square, and we got big bags of wool from,
Nicholas
it was
Young.
like the youth YMCA type thing,
All right.
and they would provide the wool and the pattern, and you had to knit it, and then you brought it back and you swapped it.
Oh, goodness sake.
So it was really, some of the wool was really nice.
Yeah.
It was Lopi wool,
Right.
and some of it was really, really coarse.
String.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we got a pattern, nobody else could work it out,
Right.
so I got it
Same
all
as
worked
Gillespie.
out, and it was really, really bonny. It was, the Icelandic
Yeah.
patterns, and the colours we had were brown, white, can't remember the other colour, but it was, you had the yoke, which was really nice. I handed over to Mum to do the yoke.
Gosh, oh well, there we are. Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's no yoke.
Actually, we
It's a bad yoke.
knitted exactly the same tension,
Oh right.
which was unusual.
Yes, I didn't realise that about tensions.
Yeah.
But it was Fairisle stuff.
It was really nice.
It's quite a skill, knitting, isn't it? I mean, people are derogatory about it, but it is.
I think it's coming back actually.
Yeah, yes, you get knitting circles now.
Well, you see, in Shetlanders, they knitted much of the clothing when Shetlanders came down south again. As I say, there was the Shetland shop at Haymarket. It was where they knitted stuff and handed it into the shop and got half a crown or half a crown between three, and it was quite something.
There's this place in St Andrew's Square,
Yeah.
I think it was anyway. The people used to come down and get their bags of wool. Unbeknown to us, Mum and I, people kept the spare wool and they used it for their own purposes.
Of course.
Whereas Mum and I brought it back.
Oh, you were too honest.
It was big bagfuls of wool. We used to take it back and we were howled out.
Oh no, they didn't want it back.
They didn't want it back, no. But as I say, some of the wool was really nice, soft,
Yeah.
and other was really coarse. And I'll tell you something, some of the wool had spales of wood in it. If you weren't careful, you got a spale in your finger. It was really sore.
I've never experienced that, love, but there
That
you
must
go.
have been right old rough wool, that. I remember sometimes you'd get a really itchy jumper, wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Especially if it was
So you get powder
Yeah,
for that.
But as I say, the one that I worked out the pattern for, beautiful wool, lovely and
Yes, there was
soft.
grades.
It was tempted to hold on to it.
But there was grades of wool,
Yeah.
and depending on what you're knitting them for different garments, socks or jumpers or
Mum used to
Fairisle.
knit socks for Dad. He was very fussy about his socks, and he liked them long, soft wool, and she used to turn the heel and everything.
Oh yes. But the women were really talented then.
So what were all the shops
Eh?
around Northfield then, apart from the...
The Co-op. The Co-op was the big one, really. And then at Meadowbank there was Cimarelli's, the Italian ice cream shop, and he had, I think you got a photograph of his donkey and cart.
Oh yes.
Well, he used to come round with his donkey and cart, and you could get a halfpenny cone or a penny cone. I'll pay you next week, but no, it was cash on demand. And he came round. Now, he was he looked very elderly to us. He had grey hair and I think he had a slight beard. Well, when Mussolini declared war in this country, a lot of villains from the barracks, which was the slum clearance place, came up and smashed his shop up. And there was a policeman and a sailor tried to keep them out. Well, what happened? Poor old Mr. Cimarelli was sent to Canada so that he couldn't do any damage. And I think he was on the liner that was torpedoed.
No.
He survived.
Oh, right.
And I remember when he came back, lots of us, his two daughters opened up the shop again, and we all went along to see him. And I remember seeing this very, very elderly man sitting.
Yeah, so we're talking about shops around Meadowbank and Northfield.
Well, there was the Cimarelli's, and there was Wood the butcher's, there was a hairdresser, boys and men's hairdresser, can't remember the names. There was a shoe shop.
Where was the shoe shop?
It was, there's a group of shops just next to the stair up to the flats. It's the last shop there, it was the lady at the shoe shop.
Oh, right.
That's where we got our shoes, basically. But funnily enough, my shoes were letting in. So my mother, who during the war worked in the Air Ministry in Royal Terrace, she was going to take them to the shoe shop, get them sold or whatever. And it was raining, fortunately that day. I went to school in my Wellington boots. That was fine. Well, she thought that she would be able to bring the shoes back at lunchtime when she was on her lunch, but she couldn't because they hadn't finished them. So in the afternoon it was dry, bone dry, and I went to school in my Wellington boots. And the headmaster asked me, why were you wearing Wellington boots? I know the answer now to his question, but then I was pushed for it.
Yeah.
It was just the social aspect. It was only Keeley's that ran about with turned down Wellington boots with a fashion statement.
Was it?
Also, gym shoes in the summer. That was the wear of the working classes. The wear. People who went to Royal High School did not wear Wellingtons when it wasn't raining.
You wouldn't wear Wellingtons, would you? No. Not Gillespie's girl.
No, not Gillespie's.
I went to Sheen's first.
All right, yeah.
That was my primary. School was on the hill, just across from Barclay Church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You started work, you would have had a bit of money to buy clothes, wouldn't you?
Oh.
First thing I bought
Rolls
with my
Royce.
money was lace petticoat.
I see.
A
Right.
lace petticoat.
And do you remember how much it was?
Too much.
Probably was quite expensive,
Big
wasn't it?
expensive.
About the time when they had
Rationing.
full skirts
Oh, yes.
and
Yeah.
everything.
Yes, yes. I
So you
remember
would
that.
have been the bee's knees. What about shoes? Did you like shoes?
Most of us had shoes.
The shoes that we tended to buy were sandals,
They had white
leather
shoes.
sandals.
And when you started work, would you have had? Did you have to wear a certain clothes? Was it quite formal, or were you okay?
We had to wear the lab coats.
Of course. So
Yeah.
So you could wear anything you wanted under that.
Underneath.
That's true. Oh,
But the laughing thing is that one or two people, when it was so hot
Yeah.
and they had taken off everything underneath.
I say, you're getting a bit racy now.
Oh,
So when you started work, was it a suit and tie?
No, not really. It was not come as you like. But no, you had to be dressed in Sir Herbert Brecken's office. You had to be dressed as though you were a member of, society.
Mm.
your white collar.
Yes, of course. White collar. She's saying you're white collar.
Well, they lasted a month. You had to get a new one. No, we just had to dress. Maybe a sports jacket and flannels, and you didn't look like a scarecrow.
No.
The partners, they all wore suits, of course. I'm trying to
I
remember.
think from what Bill tells about his time, he was very much one of the boys.
Ah.
What?
He wanted to rub along with the workforce as well.
Right.
I
Of
don't
course.
think that's untrue.
No, that's probably very true, darling.
Yeah.
No, the apprentices, we had to dress smartly.
Yeah.
You didn't want mobile scarecrows.
No. What about when you went out? Did you go out dancing?
If we had money, yes, but you see, I served.
You went out dancing, didn't you?
Oh yes, we've got to do something at night. And
He wasn't just knitting.
I gave that up. No, I was an indentured apprentice for 5 years,
Right.
and I had to attend the Heriot Watt and pay the Heriot Watt fees and sit the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors exams, which I gave that up. And it was a fairly restricted, really. You're scurrying off up to the Heriot Watt, and it was the all evening classes.
Right.
All evening classes, which we paid for.
Well, we worked during the day.
Aye.
Yeah. So did you get when you actually got time off and a bit of money and went out dancing? Was it a change of clothes, or did you kind of?
Well, you combed your hair.
And
That's
he
a
went
start.
a-calling for his girlfriend.
That's another story.
Don't tell the other
And
girlfriend.
the father used to screen you
Oh,
before he went out with her.
yeah, muggy.
Oh dear.
Yes, yes.
It sounds a bit of a tough regime to me.
It was a bit. I think the worst part was being an indentured apprentice, you got £0.50 a year, basically. Whereas you just didn't have the spending power of many of your contemporaries who had started work. You had to get...
Thank you for listening to this Life Story podcast. We have other podcast channels, Leith Lives and the Thelma Tapes, and 2 music channels, Forgotten Songs from the Broom Cupboard and Analog Rory's Jukebox. Links to these podcasts can be found at www.livingmemory.org.uk. You can also find out more about our work there. And please come and visit us at the Wee Museum of Memory at Ocean Terminal. We are on the 2nd floor beside Britannia. If you have any stories or memories, please contact us. All the information is on our website. Once again, thank you for listening.